Welcome to another episode of The Second Coming. I'm here with Brother T. I'm your host, Jason Keeton. Let's just jump in. Brother T, how was your week?
Oh, it's been fabulous, right? We're in the midst of the holidays. My family's so big, we have one gathering for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that was last weekend. And we have to rent a place for us all to be there because nobody got a house big enough to handle all of us. So anyway,
Nice.
it was fun. We had a good time, and I had a chance to sit down with one of my nieces. I haven't talked to her in a while, and she's a school teacher. She been teaching for about 7 years, just a beautiful young woman, and she teaches kindergarten. And so she and I got to sit down, and I was able to bring some fun into the conversation. And it's so easy to apply spiritual wisdom to everyday conversations. It doesn't matter. I don't have to say, oh, it came from A Course in Miracles or The Way of Mastery or, Jason Keeton. I can just share what I know works, and the agreement that I get from people is amazing. They're like, yeah, And when she was talking about some children that some of them, have really tough parenting, and she can really feel, and some of them have anger issues, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I could go off on a tangent, but that's a long answer to your question, Jason. But right now, I feel like I'm in a good place. I did make a trip this month to Florida to see if maybe I wanted to go back to Florida. But
Yeah.
I think the upshot of that pilgrimage is I'm good where I'm at. And so, as you can see, I've rearranged my studio. I'm not using a green screen. This is not as attractive to background, but it's not as distracting for me. And I can sit down and we can talk for an hour and a half, Jason, and I can keep up here, no problem.
It's beautiful. Yeah, you and I got to talk just yesterday on the phone and kind of talk about your pilgrimage to Florida and how you're feeling like Nashville's home. It feels so nice to be close to family, and especially
Yep.
when you have gatherings and see your children and grandchildren grow and
Indeed.
grow up. It's a blessing. It's
It
a
really is.
blessing.
It
Yeah.
sure is.
Yeah. Well, Brother T, my question today comes from Paul Selig again, and in this chapter, we're talking about growth and manifestation, and he talks about removing the barriers. He's talking about how we have an attraction or an addiction to the boulder in the center of the room. And sometimes we say out loud, oh, I need a new job so I can pay my bills. I need someone to love me, so I need to get a partner. And yet we say it out loud, but we're attached to this obstacle that we've actually put that obstacle in the room ourselves, and we in fact build on it and make it stronger. And I kind of want to ask for my own use, because I would like to grow in areas of my life with, financially and health, and manifest these things. And I know you're going to come back to the capital S soul, and that's what I want to talk about. Not manifesting little things, but the big picture here, the soul picture, the soul's journey. And there you go. That's what I'd like to ask my question today.
Okay. Let's take a break for a minute here to pause and just do a quick call in to our guidance. So let's take a good deep breath. We're being joined now by the masters the angels, the love of God, the voice of reason. And we say, welcome. Thank you for joining us in this conversation. You know, if you were to imagine your sleeping self, Jason, and I talk about the sleeping self, I say we have the sleeping self at night, and then we have this self, which is, for the most of the world, is just considered to be our reality. And it is a reality in a certain way of seeing it. But it's really, most people, I like to say gently, with a velvet glove, they're sleepwalking. I was at the store the other day, and I was buying a cake for the gathering on last weekend, and the young lady's like, "Oh, that's a big cake," and I was telling her, she said, "Well," I was telling her how big my family is. She said, "Oh, wow," and she was just real cute young lady, and anyway, she said, "Oh, you going to buy presents for all those people?" I'm like, "No, I don't buy presents for anybody. If I think somebody needs something, then I will give them some assistance. I'll give them some help." I said, "But I don't buy into the commercialism of a system that just keeps us thinking that we have to do things for other people, and that's what makes us a good person," because that's not true, right? So the reason I bring it up is to just consider the sleeping self. Let's imagine your sleeping self has a dream, and it has a dream to have a mansion, and it's going through all of the stuff that it's doing, and it's worrying and working, and there's drama, and there's obstacles, and it becomes almost like a nightmare to fulfill the goal of taking possession of that mansion, right? And then you wake up, and let's say that the sleeping self actually did manifest the mansion, and you wake up. So the question I have for the sleepwalking self, this self, is, how important is that mansion to you now? Where did it go? How important is it to you, right? What I would think is, well, it doesn't matter at all, because dreams are just dreams. They have no effect. I mean, they can be used by spirit, by our soul, to help us out a little bit, right? But they literally have no effect. And the point is, it doesn't matter if it's a mansion or if I'm living in the slums or on the street. When I wake up from the illusion of what's important and what's not important, and what's good and what's not good, what's left is a sigh of relief in my regard, because dreams have no effect. So how much attention should I give to focusing on going back into the dream tonight and completing my goal? If I didn't make it to the mansion, if I didn't get that accomplished, how important is it for me to go back in my dream tonight and make it happen? And should I spend my whole day today trying to get ready for that? So the point of that short story is that when we allow our soul to be in the driver's seat, okay, we put our soul in the driver's seat, the sleepwalking self that has all of these crazy objectives and goals and judgments and defining what's important and what's not important, the boulder in the middle of the room, is a construct of a fearful mind. And we dance around it all the time and ignore it, but it is limiting our ability to move beyond a level of consciousness wherein it was created in the first place. And if we can begin to just relax and know that God's got this, which is to say God has me and God has you. And when you let go of the neediness and the doingness and the busyness and allow yourself to just relax, your needs will always be met, because that's the way it works. Your needs are always going to be met. When you quit trying to define what they are, they just happen naturally, and you can remain in a very comfortable, peaceful place of knowing, with faith and understanding of truth, that you are right where you need to be, and you have exactly what you need to have, and you only have one purpose here, and that is to be happy with who you are.
I love that. And to prompt the next portion of the question, it was Paul Selig, through the guides, talks about being the godical, being the godlike, and removing the sickness and our ability to do that. And it's interesting when he talked about being present and removing the sickness, he said it's the soul's journey. It might even happen in the next lifetime, but the sickness will be gone. It was interesting. It was like, wait, I mean, I'm trying to cure this self, and he's talking about, well, in the next lifetime, the sickness might not be there. It was crazy, but kind of talk about how do we go through this existence remembering who we are. And when I'm talking about who we are, I'm talking about the big W, the God.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, we need to be conscious of who we be, right? And it's a binary system. That's one of two. You got one or two choices. You got the angel on the one shoulder and the devil on the other, right? We've seen the image of that little metaphor. Who are we being is the only question that deserves our attention. Because if we can answer that question, or just by asking the question, we become present to the truth of what we're giving our attention to, right? Are we giving our attention to the fearful thoughts of our human mind? Or have we made a connection and that we're actually giving our attention, our awareness, and listening to the guidance of our heart? See, our heart is, the physical heart is a wonderful, metaphor for it, but it's really the altar of our being, and we are mind. We are not bodies. We are spirit, right? And we are mind. We are one with the mind of God. Well, our soul, if you will, resides at the very center of our being, and it's in the Course in Miracles, Jesus refers to it as an altar. So if I turn my attention to that self, and I just block out the external and let the body's demands, take a break for a moment, I can turn within. And when I turn within, I am becoming in unity with my true self. I become the we instead of the me. Instead of the isolated, fragile, fearful, judgmental, egoic self, I can connect with and be present to and become a part of the soul, the voice of wisdom itself, the Holy Spirit, which Jesus tells us is nothing more than our right mind. And I can be present to all of that. And in the presence of that, in the unity of that, I become wholehearted. So I can't listen to what my heart has to say until I direct my mind to give it presence and to give it preference. So what the ego can do is nothing. We can't fix the ego. We can't improve the ego. We can dress it up maybe and make it look better, but to who is it looking better to? Itself, right? None of that's truly important, and those are beliefs, and those are attachments, and those are commitments that we have a life history of committing to making priority in our life. And so it's a little bit of the thing that we can do is to begin to relax and let go of the grasping and clinging of trying to hold on to last night's dream about what the way things should be or shouldn't be, and manifesting. There are lots of people who get sidetracked on a spiritual journey because they literally stepped onto the pathway because they heard somebody going, well, you're going to have more abundance in your life, if you're on a spiritual journey. And so then people start judging themselves that they're not doing spirituality right, et cetera, et cetera. You cannot fail. I mean, you can do it harder or you can do it easier, but you can't fail in this time or in this life or the next. So when it comes to sickness, and you mentioned sickness, the truth is the way the system is designed is that we learn from our experiences. And so if our egoic, fearful mind and the thoughts that it is operating from are fearful, which they will be, and maybe judgmental and blaming and, adding emphasis to that, adding emotions to that, adding drama to that, that's going to bring into our experience something that's going to kind of help us to wake up from what's causing that, right? And that's our own thinking, right? So we do believe, I'll say it this way, karma is a real thing. I don't even like to use the term believe anymore. But karma itself is a real thing because the world is reflective, and there's always a balance in this system to move you along from one level of consciousness to the next. And those are corrections that help you, or they provide an opportunity for you to make a correction in your thinking process. And so we could have a disease, a sickness in this life, and there are some people who really misinterpreted this, especially in A Course in Miracles, and, you caused this for yourself, and, so that's getting into blame and judgment. Of course, that's the ego playing its game. It's very subtle in its, and wild and woolly in its ability to keep us confused. But the truth is, whatever disease or sickness we might experience in this incarnation could be from operating at a lower level of consciousness in this life earlier or even some past life. The point is that can be neutralized by evolving consciously. And if anything comes up, a disease comes up or whatever, the best way to get through it is to just bless it and recognize that, that's a lesson for me. That's because of something that happened in my past, of where I was being judgmental or condemning or hateful, something certainly less than loving and forgiving. And so how can I be loving and forgiving in this moment? I can forgive and love the illness. Bless it, because it is my teacher. It came to me to help me see who I have been so that I can be someone different going forward, so I don't attract sickness in the future. But once we turn the whole thing over, so to speak, to our soul, well, at that point, our soul is not going to manifest sickness, because our body begins to completely align with a different vibration, a healing vibration, and energy of love itself is what's the word I want to say? It's creative, and it's always creating perfectly. And our body can align with that vibrational field and become more perfect. Going back to the example of the boulder in the middle of the room, the boulder gets smaller and smaller because I'm giving it less and less power in my life, and I'm giving sickness less and less power in my life. And certainly things that are called miracles do occur. And I've shared my story with people, where I had stage 4 cancer, et cetera, et cetera. And, some people's response is, oh, that's a miracle. And yes, it was a miracle, because everything's a miracle, right? And some people have a sickness, and then they go into worry about, is it going to continue, or is it going to come up again? Or, the more attention we give it, the more power it has. And so, speaking for myself, I'm just going to say, I have learned to be okay with what's going on now, and now. And if I can do that, and I can't do it perfectly, I get tripped up all the time. But I'm getting better at recognizing when I'm getting tripped up and giving my egoic, fearful self power over me, over my thoughts, and taking control of my mind. I'm getting better at relaxing and allowing and being grateful for whatever's happening, because it's all perfect. And it's happening because that's exactly what I need to happen for me in this very moment.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Brother T. And I'm glad that you brought your own experience into it. And I'm glad that you shared that, yeah, I mean, the human existence, we're not perfect. We stumble often, every day. But the beautiful thing about being on this spiritual journey and living in Christ consciousness is we still go through the human dramas and the highs and lows, but when we can remember that this is a soul's journey, a God's journey, we can come out of those lows a little bit faster, and we can brighten up a little bit quicker, and we can love a little bit better. And thank you, Brother T, for showing us your love today, being vulnerable about how you were going through your illness and stage 4 cancer, and just being present and being aware. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Now, based on what you're sharing, there might be some out there that might say, well, what is the purpose of life? What's the purpose of, you said this is a soul's journey, so what's the purpose of the soul's journey? Do you have what is your thought about that question? No rights or wrongs.
No,
right.
and for me personally, my soul's journey, I believe that I've been given this opportunity in this lifetime to have the experiences that either come to me or I manifest, and I take that and I try and show every opportunity love. And as I go forward with this, I hopefully that if I can live in Christ consciousness and I can work on living in Christ consciousness, that fills my soul. And I'm not looking to fill my ego. I'm looking to be present in the journey, wherever the journey takes me, but to be present in the journey and realize that this experience comes to me and live with it and acknowledge it, even the pain, even the sickness.
Well, some people don't know yet. A lot of people don't know yet, but that's okay. The soul's journey, so we've defined God as love. And I had a conversation with somebody when I was down in Florida, and it got heated because I was trying to help this man who was close to my age to at least allow himself to consider the possibility that maybe there's another way of seeing things. I don't know if I was successful in the least, but I didn't hold much back because I didn't have much time, and I didn't know him and he didn't know me, and it was just an interesting conversation. But at the end of the day, God is love, right? And that's how we define God. And the soul's purpose, plainly put, is to be more of God. God is interesting and has an agenda to create more of God. It's very simple. Ego doesn't like simple, but it is simple. To create more of God. And God is love. So the soul's entire purpose is to be a creative agent of love. And how it turns out in the world of form doesn't matter one bit, because there's nothing in form. There's nothing in this room, in this place, out this window that means anything, because it's all going to be gone. In its form it's currently taking is temporary, because prior to the form it's taking right now, and I'm looking around at my room, the things that are here, the chair, the drawer, the camera, the TV, it was in another form prior to this form, and now it's serving us in this form, and it will go to another form. There's nothing that we can manifest in the world of form that is truly creative, because it's not eternal. But the essence of it is, and the essence of it is love. Love begets more love. And God, intention in our creation was more of God. And so if we can begin to understand that is what our soul's intention is, then the only purpose we really have here is to get out of the way of allowing the soul to be that expression of God's love here in the world of form. And if we do that, we will fulfill our purpose as God has defined it to be, which is, guess what? To be happy. Because when we're being more loving, we're happy all the time. When we're being in that space, in that consciousness, in the upper room.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Brother T. Oh. And anything else that you have for us? That answers my questions for today.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's still hanging out and watching.
Yeah.
And I ask for patience and forgiveness. You know, been traveling a little bit, been writing a little bit more. I'm working on a book, and I've been posting parts of that on our Substack page. I appreciate the patience of everyone that's in a part of our community as these things are beginning to unfold. And this is a new setup here. We'll see how it goes. But I feel clarity after my trip to be more available, or to just share more here with you on in this format. And so that's my goal, to get all of this worked out and set up so that beginning in the new year, and I've kind of just using January 1st as a goal to start doing daily videos that I'll post on Substack, and maybe to YouTube. We'll see where else it goes. But so that I do want to share that with the audience. And also I want to say thank you. I feel blessed, so blessed by the patience that our community has expressed to me. And I'm excited about what's going to be happening and unfolding for us as a spiritual community in 2025. And it's just an exciting, pivotal time. You know, we're just a couple of days away from Christmas now. More Christ, right? Christmas is more of Christ, and Christ is more of God, right? So it all seems to be very, there's a lot of synchronicity to all the things that I think are going on in our world right now. And there are going to be some tough times too. I mean, I'm surprised you didn't ask about the drones, or, you know. And I've got some comments about that, but we'll save that maybe for the in-between Sunday between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah. Well, Brother T, thank you from the bottom of my heart for the service that you do for our community. And thank you to our community for tuning in with us. This is a busy time of year for everyone. And for you to take 30 minutes out of your day to spend with Brother T and myself, I have true gratitude for that and true love for everyone. Wishing everyone a safe, beautiful holiday season. And on behalf of Jason, I'll see you next week on another episode of The Second Coming.